Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Podcast. And Michael, this is our we have season one going, and really been having a lot of fun with it. Hopefully, our audience and more importantly, our Access Plus members have been enjoying it. But this one was a pretty interesting one for a lot of different reasons, and I guess we can share a little bit. But maybe you can kind of tell everyone the purpose behind this particular episode first.
So, Handshake Exposed is the name of the episode, and we took a really crazy story, and you just got to hear it to really get the full impact of it, because I promise you'll be surprised by the story. But it was a amazing story, just powerful story that kind of gives a good illustration of what can go wrong when you don't have a deal in writing. We always talk about the risk of a handshake deal, but we were able to kind of use this real life example as to things that what are the consequences if it does go wrong.
Yeah, I think the first fun takeaway that I'm going to share, because this is Behind the Podcast, and I'm only letting you people in the Access Plus members know this, that this was originally our very first podcast, and Michael and I were super excited. We finished it, and the idea behind it anyway, and it was not very good at all. And so we ended up scrapping our very first podcast. We have now, since then, after I've done a few others, we came back to our very first concept, and we redid the podcast completely based on having the first one not be great. But it was fun. I mean, we got great. It's like a lot of things in life. You learned a lot from what worked and what didn't work. And so we thought the story was so compelling, we still wanted to tell it. As you just mentioned, there's some serious twists to it. And so I was glad we got to re-record it to make it more suitable for a listening audience.
It's crazy, too, because it doesn't matter. I mean, we speak all the time at conferences and obviously with our clients. And the new format, I mean, you're just like, I didn't know what to do with my hands. I didn't know, what, but we were still pretty excited initially until we got kind of our groove down and realized that it was not very good.
No. And that, I think the one thing I'll say about the Handshake Exposed is that we cover a lot of issues that happen with any kind of contract. And for the Behind the Podcast piece of it that's the same thing happened when you were actually recording a podcast. There's a lot of things you learn from it that otherwise you wouldn't know. And I think that's so great about this particular podcast. There are certain things that happen in a handshake deal that you just can't even think about until after the fact. And it's hard to go back afterwards and redo a handshake deal. And that's why it's such a great story. And it's a true story how it worked for us and how we had to re-record our podcast.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I'd just say that the one big takeaway we have from it is, that the biggest risk of doing a handshake deal is the potential for unmet expectations, and we illustrated in the story and after the story, it's just impossible to cover the bases and make sure you're on the same page over, a handshake.
Absolutely. And hopefully you'll join us and listen to it, and you'll also see the twist that I know several people we've spoken to have now already listened to it was thrown off by the actual twist. So it's a good story. It's a true story. Unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it. But looking forward to speaking with you next time and for the next episode. So thanks again for joining us.
Thank you.